Okay, so it's letting me record. Now can I stream, or is it going to give me an issue? Okay. And let's see, the recording is still going. All right. Okay, so I'm going to find Pascal. So I have it on this folder in my desktop. I'm just going to open this up. And I'm going to make this bigger. And so the default size is 32 by 32. So when you open a new Pascal window, it's always going to be 32 by 32, which is good for a game size. But if you're just trying to do some sketches, it may not be the right size. And you can kind of tell, like, this is how big my drawing is. And that might not be enough space for me. So I'm going to delete this. And the first thing I want to do is save. So I'm going to save this as character design. And I'm going to go to save as. And it's already open to my art folder, but if you didn't have it open there already, I would just go to the desktop or wherever you have your MMP 270 folder and go into MMP 270, go into art, and then just character design.pascal is fine. So I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to change the size. So I'm going to go to resize. And I'm going to do, let's do 256. I have to delete the numbers first. 256. Okay, so now you can see, oops, when I'm drawing, you can see, I have a lot more room to draw. I'm going to undo that. And so what I'm going to do for my character design, I'm going to try a few different shapes and then kind of draw over them, so I can see how my character is going to look with different shapes. So I'm going to do something similar to the approach that Tomo Totoro talks about. Okay, so I've got my project saved. So I'm going to start. I have a. Somebody have a question? Oh, sorry. I thought I heard something. Okay. So there's some shape tools that I can use. And so that might be nice because, depending on how good you are at drawing, like, I don't think I can draw a square. If I try to draw a square, it's going to look like that. It's not that bad, but, it's not very accurate. So what I might do is draw a square. And let's see, I'm going to move this. You can also center it. So I'll click on line image to center. And then maybe I'll move it up just a little bit. I'll just draw a square. I can leave it as an outline, or I might want to fill it in. So I might want to fill it in like that. And then what I can do, so I'm not actually making an animation here, but I'm going to use the animation tools. So I'm going to add a new frame. And you can see my preview window is like blinking right now because it's usually an animation when I'm adding frames. But I can just turn that down to 0. And so now I don't have to worry about the blinking. And then what I can do is turn on this onion skin. So I don't think I talked about this last time, but there's this onion skin feature, which is going to show me kind of a transparent copy of the frame below the current frame that I'm on. And so that way I can draw on top of my shape, but it's not actually part of my design. So, you might also, like, a lot of people, I'm sure if you're an animation student, or if you've taken an animation class, you probably practiced like basically doing your rough sketch on one layer and then drawing your final design on another layer. So it's kind of like doing that, but I'm just using a basic shape to start. So then I'm gonna go back to my pen tool and maybe start drawing. I'll just kind of start sketching in what this character is gonna look like if it's a big square. So let's see. I want to have, actually, I'm going to undo those. I want to have some arms and some legs for my character. So maybe this will be like the head, and maybe I'll have a couple eyes right here, and maybe like a mouth right there, and then maybe an arm right here. So I'm just sketching and just doing a demo. I'm not going to try to make this perfect. So it's going to look a little goofy, but I'm just trying to make something simple to get a quick sense of how it'll look, and then I'm going to move on from here. Okay, so I've got a little sketch, and it's kind of goofy looking, but you know, since I'm doing a demo, I'm just going to keep going. So now that I've got my sketch, I can move to the next frame. And so now I want to do kind of a more finished version. I'm going to do a wider pen and just kind of draw along the outline. And then I'll fill this in. Okay, so I'm going to draw this outline. I could put more details in here, but I'm just keeping things simple. I don't want to spend a ton of time on the actual drawing for this. So this is just going to be my square character. I'm going to get a sense of what the differences are with this character versus my other characters. So got the basic outline. I'm going to draw a couple eyes and then a mouth. Okay, and now I'm going to fill this in. So I'm going to take the paint bucket tool, fill that in. That looks good. And then I'm going to get a different color. So I'll get white and fill that in. And then if I want to see what it looks like without the background, I just turn off the onion. I can also hit Alt O to do that, to get a little, see how it looks by itself. And so that looks pretty cool. I might want to try different colors. So, you know, maybe I'll try like a blue color and let's see, fill that in. Okay, so that looks kind of nice. I kind of like that. One thing that we'll look at in Godot later is you can actually change the color of your character. So even if you have it as black and white, or you know, gray or something like that, you can actually change the color in Godot. So that's a nice feature in Godot. We won't look at that today, but just keep that in mind. So I kind of like this as a basic design. Whoops, filled in the whole thing. I'm just going to undo. If I want to, you know, add a little, you know, more detail to this, I could take my pen and get the Lighten tool. And remember that if I hold Shift, it's only going to do it once per pixel. So I could kind of do a little highlight over here, maybe on the arm, something like that. So if I want to add a little detail, that could be a way to do it. I can also hold Control to go the other way to darken. So maybe I could add, whoops. So I'm going to hold Shift and Control at the same time and add a little darker detail to the eye. The eye is obviously white, so I can't make it any lighter. So if you want to add some details, that's a good way to do it. But that's good enough for now. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. So I get like one basic character design, and now I kind of want to repeat the process, but this time I'm going to use a different basic shape. So I'm going to save this and add a new frame. And so I'm going to start this time with a big circle. All right, so I'm gonna go, I guess I'll keep my blue color. I've got a big circle. I'm gonna fill this in. So I'm gonna hit B to change to the paint bucket. Then I'm gonna center this. So I'm just gonna click the line to center. And then actually let's move it up. So I'm gonna hit M and then move it up a little bit. And I could even use the onions. Sorry?
Are you just able to like draw so smoothly because you like zoomed out into like many pixels?
Sorry, say that again?
Yours just it looks really smooth, and I'm wondering if it's just because you're using a larger amount of pixels. Like when I was using this, it was like really basic.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the default size is 32 by 32. So like if I open a new window, like my pixels are like huge, right? And so what I did is I just changed the size. So I went to resize and I changed the width to 256, and that automatically changes the height as well. And actually, whoops, I want to. Okay, so I want to not resize the canvas content for this one. So you can see now I have a lot more space to work with. So that's probably what you're referring to. You may just want to click on the resize and then get a bigger canvas size, especially when you're just sketching and designing. Later, when we do the animations, we're going to use a smaller canvas size because we don't need as much detail for our actual game characters. But yeah, that's how I got more resolution, basically. Is that what, does that look like what you're looking at?
You can hear me, but yeah, that explains it.
Okay, cool. All right. So now I can use my other character again with my onion skin, or I can just go to the next frame and do another kind of sketch. So I'll start with the sketch again. So I'm going to do a smaller one, and I don't have to do, with the circle, maybe I don't want the whole circle. Maybe I can kind of cut it off at the top a little bit. I don't know. I can kind of play around with it and see the arms would kind of go over here. Kind of like that. And then here's the feet. This one has really short feet for some reason. And I'll do the eyes kind of big again like that. And maybe the mouth is a little more cartoony. Something like that. Again, I'm just doing a demo, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time making this perfect. I'm going to go to the next one, get a slightly bigger pen size, and just trace this outline. Oops. Okay. I'm having a hard time getting around this corner, so let's go up here. And I'll draw the hands, draw the feet. This foot is like, should more be like over here. Okay. That looks okay. I can look at the preview up here as well. Let's turn off the onion skin. Okay, not too bad. And I'll just fill in the eyes. And here's my goofy mouth. Okay, and so then I'll get my paint bucket, fill that in, and then I can use the right click to fill in with the secondary color, which is that white. And I can still, oops, see the onion skin, so let's take that off. And that looks kind of funny. I would probably spend more time on this if I was really, trying to make my character look good, but this is good enough for a demo. I'm gonna get my pen back and just clean up this bit a little bit. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So now I kind of have two different things. And what I can do, I don't really need these shapes and sketches anymore. If you want to save them, you might want to save as. So I can go to save and call this character design 2 or something like that and click save as and just save it in the same place. So that way I don't have to worry about losing this stuff, but I might want to just delete my references so I can look at the two different designs and say, whoops, which one I think is stronger. And so I'll do one more design real quick, and then I'll go over uploading it to Open Lab. So for this one, I want to combine a couple shapes, and this is kind of going to look a little bit like what I created for the actual game art. So I'm going to make like a block for a head, and then I'm going to use, there's no triangle tool, so I'm going to use the stroke tool, which lets me draw like a straight line, and just draw a couple straight lines for a triangle. And so this is combining a couple different shapes. So we get a more complex body shape. So I'm going to turn the onion skin back on and do a little sketch of this. So I'll get my pen tool. So I'll just do the outline. So I'll kind of combine these parts here, round this part a little bit, round up here, and then I'll round this part a little bit. Do the same thing over here. Okay. And then I don't really want these edges, so I'm just going to round the body down here a bit. Okay, so now I've got a little outline of the shape. And then the eyes, I could put them like on the sides like that. That looks kind of funny. But then I don't know where the mouth goes. I guess it just goes in the middle. And then I've got some arms here. They have to kind of go up. What's up?
Sorry, Professor. Is this like a Sprite creator?
Yeah. Right now I'm just using it for sketching, but on Thursday when we do our animations, we'll be making Sprite animations.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm just gonna draw some feet, almost done. So that looks pretty good. Gonna go to my final version. So I'm just gonna draw in the outline a little bit, fill in this part. So these are really just sketches. You don't have to do this in Pascal. We're gonna learn how to do animations on Thursday. And you could also just do these on paper if you want. You could, draw on paper and take a picture on your phone and, upload it to the Open Lab. So if you want to do it that way, feel free. I'm just using Pascal since it's the software that I'm going to be using for the art. But feel free to use whatever you want for these designs. It should be more, especially if you're more comfortable in something. This is really about the character design process. So trying to get a cool character, not necessarily for the final art. Okay, so I've got my little guy. I'm gonna fill in my different shapes. And so that's pretty cool. You can see when I combine the shapes, I get a much more kind of like interesting character. I'm gonna delete these guides. And so, the box character is very simple. You could imagine that in like a really simple platformer game. Same thing with this character. But this character has a lot more personality just because I've combined a little bit more with the shapes. I'm gonna bring the neck in just a little bit. So there's other things that you could do here, like play with different colors and stuff like that. But for now, I think this is good enough to kind of demonstrate some of the differences. So now what I want to do is make my Open Lab post. So I need to get these images out of Pascal. And so I'm going to go back to the export tab. And I could export a sprite sheet because right now it's designed, it has a few different frames. And so I could export it as a sprite sheet, and that would be fine to upload to Godot. But if I want to separate my PNGs into different files, the easiest way to do that is just to go to the zip and just use the zip export. So if I click download zip, I'm going to go to my art folder and click save. Okay, so now I'm just going to minimize these guys. So I'm going to open up MMP 270 and go to art. And here's my character design zip. I'm going to have to unzip that. So I'm going to go to extract all. And it fills in, it's in the same place in a folder called character design. So that looks fine. I'm just going to click extract. And so there you see my 3 different PNGs. If I want to open those and look at them, that looks pretty good. Does it let me see the other ones? Okay, there we go. So that looks pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and put these on Open Lab. So I've got my, and I can delete this zip. I don't need this anymore, but you can also leave it there if you want to. I've got my 3 images and I wanna put that on the Open Lab. So I'm gonna go back to Chrome and go back to the Open Lab. Let's move this over here. So I just want to hit the plus button. You can also click plus post on the Open Lab. Make sure that you're signed in. If you're not signed in, you won't see the plus button. I'm going to click plus. And then I want to set the category. So this is the character design lab. So I'm going to click on character design. And then the title, my character designs. And so you're going to want to include your inspiration here. I didn't really go through some inspiration, but if I was like using this, I could drag this down here, maybe drag this guy over here, maybe put this guy over here. So just add a few images for inspiration. So I'm going to click on each of these images and drag it on here. If I put 3 images here, it's going to make like a little gallery for me. So that's a nice way to kind of organize your images. You don't have to do it this way. You can drag each one individually, but just add some inspiration. So I'm going to add those in there and say, My inspiration includes Pac-Man. I guess I should capitalize this. Space, Vaders, and Limbo. If you want to write a little bit about like which components you applied to your design, feel free to elaborate there. And then we want to add in our 3 designs. So I could add a gallery again. That might look nice. So if I click all 3 of my images and put them in here, that's going to add this little gallery. And so I can say, and I can change the order of this as well. So if I click on these images, I can move them in the order that I designed them if I want to. You don't have to do that. And so my designs. So you can describe a little bit of your design process. I'm going to do something simple, but feel free to elaborate. So I'm going to say my designs use different base shapes, starting with square, then circle, then a rectangle with a triangle. So again, you don't have to experiment with shapes. You don't have to necessarily experiment with different colors. Whatever it is that you want to try different versions of, but it should be clear that you have 3 different designs. You know, you can see that even though I have the same colors, I have the same basic ideas in these different designs, it's very clearly 3 separate designs. So I want to see that you've actually, you know, done some different variations between the different designs for this assignment. So once I've got that set up, I'm going to preview it. Okay, so this looks pretty good. And so I'm going to close that and go to publish. And that'll take a second. And once that's done, I can submit this link and I should get a, I'll get a notification. I think that's working again. The Open Lab was broken for a little bit, but I think it's working again. So I should be getting notifications when you guys add new posts. So there's the final version. Just make sure it's published, and that's everything that you need to do for that lab. So I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll take any questions.